and you're open up like you set up like a wildlife exhibit. Is that correct? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so
So
we're in Anthony, Florida, which is just out of Silver Springs,
okay,
and we are actually in the process right now of we're in construction. We're building a small educational, by appointment only, wildlife park. It's going to be a small scale place. It's not going to be on 30 acres. We're a 5 acre piece of property that we purchased, and we're basically doing quality over quantity. We're going to have a decent amount of animals, but we're looking at building more habitat enclosures for the animals that we're going to have. A lot of plants, natural ground, a lot less concrete. And we want these animals to have a forever home, with us. My roadshow company is called Scales, Tails, and Teeth. And that's where we travel the country and do our shows. So we named our wildlife park Scales, Tails, and Teeth Wildlife Park. So, it
makes
kind of goes
sense.
thing, and we already own the name, so it was just that easier for us to transition into the wildlife park just at the end of that. So, but we're gonna have animals we have alligators, crocodiles, we have lemurs, foxes, we have emus. We have plans to bring in a couple different type of animals in the future, but I mean, we already house well over 100 animals here at the property.
Why do it? Because I mean, you're obviously very talented. I mean, I don't know if do you still, because in this show you had a restaurant. I don't know if you still have it or not, but like you were, or you could be. I feel like doing a lot of things. You're obviously very talented, very skilled. Why do the habitat now?
That's always been my life passion, is to have my own wildlife facility, wildlife park. And ever since I can remember, when I started volunteering at the Native Village, the zoo I volunteered at in Hollywood, Florida, I always told my parents and, people growing up, mentors, that I'm eventually going to have a facility of my own. And here we are, you know, 25 years later, and it's still a dream that we are almost to make it a reality now. And
Yeah.
I never gave up on this, and it's been close, where I wasn't going to get out of the animal business per se altogether, but the dream of having a facility almost became to the point where it wasn't going to become a reality. I've hit so many dead ends and so many you know just deflections that caused me to almost get off track. And luckily,
Wow.
fiance, she pushed me. My dad, my parents pushed me, and to this day, I thank for that pushing. Close friends that I've made along the way, don't give up, and that's what it's all about. And I've been very fortunate that we're gonna do it. So
That's awesome. I didn't know that. I feel like a lot of people could look at you and say like that you had a dream. You had a TV show like where you were like the star of. Like it wasn't like you were back on like you were every episode front and center. Almost every scene. And I feel like a lot of people would say like, oh, like Jimmy had the dream. Jimmy made it, right? And then here you are like, no, like the dream didn't stop there. You kept pushing for something else, something more, and like all these years later, I feel like 25 years is not a long time to chase something and to not lose hope of. That's
I, I lost hope. I mean, don't get me wrong, I lost hope, but luckily I was able to stay on track, and things happen. Like the restaurant, that was never planned. That just kind of
yeah.
happened. That was a part of my life that I would never do again. That was, in my opinion, it was a learning experience, but a big mistake on my end because I knew nothing about the restaurant world. And
Mm,
I decided to get into it because it sounded like a great idea at the time. And I lost my butt on that, that whole,
really?
I didn't make a penny off the restaurant. And when I'm telling you, not a single cent, I didn't make a penny. I invested a lot of money in that place and lost my butt on that. So,
Wow.
now, our business endeavors that we look at going and, moving forward with, we try to iron it out and know what we're getting ourselves into before we actually jump into it now. And, the show that was Gator Boys just came along. Paul and I shopped around for many years, putting footage out to different people. And I would say it was probably roughly 8 years that we shopped. And you know, in this 8 years, we signed contracts with production companies for basically a year that we were stuck with them, and it went nowhere. And, you know, we did this a few times. We finally was like, you know what? We're done trying for the show. And I kid you not, man. I mean, a friend of ours that already had a TV show, basically they approached him and was like, listen, you know, we want to try something with a TV show, and he sent them our way. And I think
Wow.
2 weeks later we signed the contracts with Discovery.